We're announcing a new inquiry today through the Parliament's powerful Joint Committee of Public Accounts and Audit, which I chair. We're going to have a detailed examination, a public examination of 7 grants-related reports, 7 grants-related programs from the previous government. Now, 4 of these have already been the subject of Auditor-General's reports. The Building Better Regions Fund, or otherwise known as Building Better Rorts, the operation of the Grants Hub, the Safer Communities program, which certainly made some communities safer, and the infamous Commuter Car Parks program out of the Urban Congestion Fund. We did start to have a bit of a look at that in the previous Parliament, but unfortunately or conveniently for the former government, there was this thing called the election which dissolved the Parliament. So I think it's important that we go back and finish that work and ask some further questions. But we're also going to have a deep dive inquiry into 3 other grants programs that haven't, at least as yet, been the subject of the Auditor-General's work, about which the government holds serious concerns. There's the Regional Growth Fund. Now that, of course, could cover a multitude of sins with the National Party involved. But then there's the Urban Congestion Fund itself. The Urban Congestion Fund is actually a much broader program than the infamous Commuter Car Parks. The Commuter Car Parks have blown out, I think, to around, last counted, who knows now, $667 million or thereabouts. But the Urban Congestion Fund is actually a $4.8 billion honeypot. So goodness knows what they've been up to there, but we're going to find out. And also the Modern Manufacturing Initiative, the one where Scott Morrison peculiarly made himself the decision maker. Now, to his credit, that wasn't a secret. He put it in the guidelines. But he was, of course, secretly the industry minister, so perhaps we'll find letters that he's written to himself as Prime Minister. Who knows? But it will be a novel experience, of course, for the Audit Committee to be doing its job, and I expect we'll see public servants actually answering the questions we put. Certainly a change from the old Infrastructure Department, but look, we could also invite some guests and friends. We could invite along, probably will, the former Prime Minister, see if he'd like to do a bit of a tell-all at the committee. We'll see. We'll be polite enough to invite him. We could invite along, the rogues gallery of former ministers, the ghosts who, the dregs of the former government who sit opposite in the chamber now. Alan Tudgy, what really happened with the car parks? Come on, you can confess it safely here. We could, Jason Wood, what's really going on? What is going on? We could, bring along Josh Frydenberg. We could resurrect Josh Frydenberg, couldn't we? And say, so, Josh, how'd those car parks work out in Kooyong? How are they going? Are they built yet? He's got a bit of time on his hands now to help with the working bee, perhaps, to get them all up and running. We could invite all the National Party in, one by one, the kind of conga line of Reuters, see what Barnaby thinks about grants, Michael McCormack. Last time, the Audit Committee, it was a couple of years ago, had a bit of a look at the regional grants, of course. We found the delicious spectacle of ministers just approving grants with no reasons. We said to the public servants, well, okay, ministers have discretion, but what happened? And they said, well, we don't know, because they locked themselves in a little room and they made some decisions and they didn't write down why. So no notes were kept. So in this regard, I do agree with the people who put the view that ministers should decide grants. But because I said so, which effectively is the excuse to the former government, because I said so is the kind of thing you say to a 4-year-old, not to explain your actions and the expenditure of billions of dollars of taxpayer funding to the Australian people. So transparency is key. But this is a serious issue. We've inherited as a government a budget riddled with waste and rorts. Nearly $1 trillion of Liberal debt has been further inflated by dodgy grants. These grants now are sitting there on the national debt for the next generation of Australians to repay. And a good government will examine these lessons, will reveal what's actually gone on, learn the lessons of the past, and if necessary make changes to guidelines to ensure that every dollar spent delivers real value for taxpayers and is properly accounted for and recorded.